guys, what's going on? It is Ash here coming at you today in Raid Shadow Legends. Thank you for joining me, guys. Hopefully this video finds you all doing well. Today we have some tips for you guys to make kind of big improvements, drastic improvements to your account in a small amount of time. So we're not going to talk about kind of long-term, kind of overall macro strategic decisions and tactics and tips in this video. We have a lot of videos kind of covering that stuff. I'm looking for quick tips, meaning that I can deliver them quickly and you can act on them quickly for today's video. So I thought to myself, what are 5 things that you can do that maybe a lot of people do? I don't want to say incorrectly. There's no real incorrect way. I guess maybe there is an incorrect way to play this game, right? If you just use your legendary books to upgrade rare champions or uncommon champions or whatever. But at the end of the day, there's no right or wrong way to gear your champions, provided you have some sort of overall strategy. But my first tip for you guys is just the value of 2 specific gear sets. You know, a lot of good gear in this game. Speed is, in my opinion, on a tier of its own, speed gear. But other gear that I think are, by some people, undervalued, and you can see Fire Knights here is so important because it has shield and stun, right? So stun's right over my head in shield. Let's talk about shield first. Shield you want to be putting on your champion on your team, ideally a support champion with the highest HP, because shield's set is so good for dungeons. It's almost like a hack, right? I mean, if you're struggling on stage 17 or you're struggling to finish off stage 20, you can get through it likely, or have a far greater likelihood of getting through it with just a high HP champion in a shield set. That shield's gonna refresh every single round for 3 turns, so against the first wave of minions, the second wave of minions, the third wave of minion, or the third boss, excuse me, and then you're gonna have that fresh shield for 3 rounds based on that champion's max HP. That's what the shield set is based on. That makes a dramatic difference. There's a lot of HP you can absorb to keep your more squishier champions alive. And then the stun set, if you're struggling, again, Nightmare Campaign, wherever it is in the game, try putting an AoE attacker, so an area effect attacker, ideally an attacker with a 3-turn cooldown, and ideally a multiple hitter AoE attacker, right? Thinking a champion like Elaine, right? Or a champion like Bellower with multiple AoE attacks all on the same kit. Those champions are tremendous in stun gear, and stun is just a great way, stun artifacts that is a great way to build in that crowd control on your team. If you have a team that you really like right now, but you have no stuns, no shields, and you're struggling with that team, consider switching over your AoE attacker into stun and your highest HP champion into shield. I guarantee you it's going to make a dramatic difference on your overall team's capabilities and versatility. The next tip is the power of speed inside Raid Shadow Legends. I've said this before, but it bears repeating, right? What good is a champion, any champion in this game, even if they're hard hitting or they have a ton of defense, if they're not going more often, if they're not taking more turns? You can have the strongest, heaviest, harding hitting champion inside the entire game, or a champion that just can't die because he has that much HP and defense, but if they never take a turn, well, they're not as useful as they were if they actually have a chance to use their abilities, right? So I think it's a very common mistake for a lot of people in this game to put something other than speed boots on your champion, okay? I'm not going to spend a long time on this tip because it's a very straightforward one. Put speed boots on 95% of your champions. There's really only a few niche reasons, like an arena team where you know you have the speed there anyway and your attacker is going last and you have a lot of crowd control or something like that. But that would be like one of the only scenarios you don't need speed boots on champions. Speed boots, no matter who the champion is going to make your champion go more often, take more turns, and that in a lot of circumstances is more valuable than just having a higher attack or a higher defense or a higher HP or whatever you're using in that boot slot. So again, value speed, not just from boots, but value speed everywhere. Tip number 3 is capturing the absolute most value from your accessories, right? So the accessory artifacts here at the bottom of the screen are so important for champions. So that's why it's a priority to get all of your champions that you're going to be using on your main team, especially on the early to mid game. Your number 1 goal is really ranking up the these champions and then getting them to 6-star ascended. That way you can actually take advantage of the amulet and of the banner in this game. Now you'll see here in Miscreated Monster, I think that one artifact I especially want to focus in on, everybody knows how valuable, you know, the amulet can be with crit damage, and the banner can be, especially with accuracy. However, no one really talks about the ring, and the ring is pretty straightforward, right? But it's really important to identify what is the #1 stat you're looking for on this specific champion. So Miscreated Monster, his damage is based on HP, so I want him to have very high hit points, right? So I'm definitely going to be putting an HP ring on him, not a defense ring, right? Because his damage is based on HP anyway, so I prioritize hit points on Miscreated Monster. Now, if he has a defense ring, not the end of the world, a little bit more sustainability. It's good to have a well-rounded champion at the same time, but I see some people just throwing on, kind of haphazardly, throwing on whatever ring they care to throw on a champion. So I'm looking for the main stat on all my nukers, providing I can keep them alive. I'll put them in attack, if they're attack-based champion, on the ring. And then I'm looking for attack sub-rolls. So here, HP on Miscreated, HP sub, 2 rolls on HP percentage on the substats here. So that is a perfect situation for the ring. Now on the amulet, more often than not, on anybody who you have a crit rate gauntlets or crit damage gauntlets on, you're expecting them to do some sort of damage, so you're probably going to be going with crit damage on the amulet, which is a great place, the only place to get your crit damage from your main stat on your artifacts. And then last but not least, on your banner, anybody who's casting debuffs on your team should have, including poison, including your Kales out there, they should have accuracy on their banner, with one caveat. As you approach the mid to the late game in Raid Shadow Legends, that's when you can start getting creative, which I did with this Miscreated Monster, right? I have an HP banner on him, even though I'm relying on him for his stuns. That's because I was able, from the other gear, to get the accuracy that I needed at 244, and my Great Hall was a huge help with plus 80 accuracy, have it maxed out in Magic Affinity. I was able to get the accuracy high enough where I was given the luxury of switching, and this is what you guys should do too. When you approach the end game of Raid Shadow Legends, you should look at your champions and kind of reevaluate their gear. Okay, who can I okay, Miscreated Monster, for example. Can I add more HP to him, do more damage, and still keep his accuracy respectable? So that would be my third tip for you guys. Next up is tip number 4, and this is a big one, so listen up, guys. Really important that your team is going in the correct order. That means kind of reallocating or redistributing your speed gear so that your turn meter booster or your speed buff champion is going first on your team. They should always be the fastest on your team. Have your best speed gear on your account, or at least on your specific team on that champion. They're going to be boosting the speed or the turn meter of all the other champions to kind of rise to their level, right? After that, ideally you want either your CC champion, the champion that's going to land the provokes or going to land the stun or the sleep, to go next, or your debuffer to go next, right? Really important that before anybody who's doing damage on your team goes, you have your debuffer going first, okay? So debuffer goes, lands that weaken or that decreased defense, that decreased attack, whatever, they go next, right? And then after that, you can have, again, your crowd control champion, reduced turn meter, whatever you have on your team, but it's very important that your nukers go next to last, right? So after your debuffer, then your nukers go. I'm going to go ahead and show you real quick on this team. Then last but not least would be your healer / your cleanser / your reviver would go last on your team, okay? And this, of course, applies to 90% of teams out there in the game. So here he goes. Lyssandra's going first on my team. She's my turn meter booster, 293 speed on this team, right? And again, doesn't matter the champions, just the order. Next champion is going to be my buffer on the team, okay? It could also be Stag Knight, but I have Siphi a little bit faster. So this is going to be my turn. She's going to have the increased speed. We already have it with Lysandra, but kind of stay with me here. She's going to have 246 speed. So that's going to be increased defense. I'm going to be getting my all my buffs, my block debuffs, my increased defense, my increased speed from my Siphi going second. Third is going to be Stag Knight, right? He is my D buffer. He's at 212 speed. You just stagger their speed. I have like a 290, a 240, and a 212 now. and then my attackers can go. In this case, it's Cold Heart 1 and Cold Heart 2 at 174 and 164 speed, I believe, on my Cold Heart. So they are the slowest on the team. If I had a Reviver, a Reliquary Tender or something on the team, they could go last, because usually we're not going to be cleansing or reviving until all my other allies have usually taken their turn. So really crucial to have success in this game to get your speed tuned correctly. So your debuffers, most importantly, are going before your attackers. Your speed boosters are going before your debuffers, before everybody else on your team. And last but not least, guys, just as a general rule, probably the number one question I get here on the YouTube channel is, who should I max next? Now, there is no hard and fast rule. Actually, I shared a video talking about the 3 factors that I look into, really consolidating that entire video into 10 seconds. I look at their versatility, how many teams are they going to be on, their end game viability. If I invest in this champion right now, are they going to be able to carry me to the mid and the end game? And then their value over replacement. Who are they replacing on my teams? And that's how I make the decision on who to upgrade, who to rank up next, right? But beyond that, what other kind of qualities am I looking at in a champion? And one thing that I just can't say enough about Raid Shadow Legends is the value of AoE buffs or AoE debuffs or AoE nukes on a 3-turn cooldown. 3-turn cooldowns are really the holy grail of what I'm looking for on any buffer, debuffer, or nuker on any of my teams. So Aethel, for example, all the starting champions, for example, have an AoE attack on a 3-turn cooldown. Is this the best attack in the game? Far from it. Divine Blades is a solid rare attack, but it's a 3-turn cooldown. It's hitting all of the enemies, has an extra 15% chance of inflicting a critical hit too. Just a random ability I wanted to show you guys. But the fact of the matter is, it's not the be-all end-all. There are exceptions to the rule, such as Royal Guard right here. Takedown is on a 4-turn cooldown, but it's an insane ability. But again, the same rule does apply to buffers, right? The Oak Skinned ability is an insane ability, but it's really imperative that it's a 3-turn cooldown, especially for my buffers and my healers, right? Because it places a 60% increased defense on all allies for 2 turns. Now, if it was 2 turns on a 4-turn cooldown, I'm going half the battle, give or take, without that important buff, increased defense on my team. The most important buff in the game, besides counterattack and some of maybe the niche buffs in the game, is increased defense. It's a huge buff. 60% increased defense, and increased speed is really good too. Most important debuffs are decreased attack and decreased defense and kind of weaken alongside all the CC like provoke and stun and stuff, a little bit more niche again. So those abilities on a 3-turn cooldown are going to be paramount, especially for clan boss and for dungeons, where the battles are a little bit longer than arena and more sustained. So guys, there you have it. Those are my 5 tips for you guys to make quick improvements to your teams and to your general account status in terms of the stages that you're focused on, or that maybe you're stuck on, the plateaus to say in Raid Shadow Legends. Thank you so much for watching all the way till the end. If you like the content here, I invite you to subscribe to the channel. Thanks, and as always, take care, guys.